I do want to talk about the defense because, man, I got to tell you, I think this defensive performance was so good. It started out very interesting. Those first two drives from Philadelphia, they were going through the defense like Swiss cheese until it got to money time and the 49ers did their job. They held serve and held the 2 field goals. That right there allowed the 49ers to hold, get back into this game, really overcome about as disastrous of a first quarter as they could overcome. And really, for me, the biggest thing that I want to talk about, David, is the secondary. One of the questions that I had was against two very good receivers, a good quarterback. When you have an offensive line like the Philadelphia Eagles, and I believe they did a great job, they held up this defensive line and forced the secondary to cover for an extended period of time. Not only that, but Jalen Hurts getting loose helped force the issue a little bit. And I think the secondary did a hell of a job. Yes, if you look at the statistics, A.J. Brown had himself a bit of a day, but it didn't really impact how this game went. What do you think about this defense and in particular, this secondary, David?
So the secondary played lights out. And I want to say, like, I think I was doing the same thing, telling people, we'll talk about the offense later, but I probably should give Steve Wilkes a lot of grace. However, I get nitpicky on certain things where it seems like when we blitz linebackers, the teams like the Eagles can exploit it. I really want to just see but the thing is, because the secondary is doing their job, and even if Fred Warner's not getting PBUs, even if he's not like draped over people, just putting him out there makes Jalen Hurts and a lot of quarterbacks afraid to put that ball in the middle of the field. And Mooney Ward, I just want to say this: I've been talking about Mooney Ward the last 2 years. I've said earlier on this year that I thought he's the MVP of this defense. He is absolutely right now the MVP of this defense. Ambry Thomas, okay, people threw him to the dogs 2 years ago. I didn't. Now, I've been objective about him when he was down, right? But like the bottom line is Ambry is playing with his hair on fire. Demo Lenoir sent DeAndre Swift to the fifth dimension. The Tig Brown had one bad angle that he took on that first drive where A.J. Brown took a slant and took it about 30, 40 yards or whatever. After that, he laid the wood. I mean, pause. The idea that this secondary plays like this, because let's be honest, Jesse, the pressure in the one-on-ones when they went rushed 4 weren't getting there super quick, because the Eagles' offensive line is really good. And so that secondary, there were coverage sacks that Jalen Hurts walked into because the secondary was so clamps. I mean, if this secondary keeps playing like this, I mean, this game, guy, like nobody can play with this team when they're doing this.
No,
they can't because Kyle will be in his bag. And we'll talk about the offense in a minute.
Yeah, man, this performance, just team in general, the performance was phenomenal. But the defense clamping down the way that they did when they were in those tough situations, it could have gotten ugly very, very early. And like I said, the secondary for me was so impressive. Ambry Thomas, though, and you mentioned him, so easy to root for. So easy to root for. You remember that rookie year where he played well, but a lot of people were all over him that rookie year because it seemed like, and he got into a couple of these situations in this game where anytime the ball was thrown deep, he either didn't get his head around, he got mossed, and people really went at him for those things. I stood up for him in those moments, but over the last year and a half or so, I haven't stood up for him because he's just kind of fallen off. And when I watched him in training camp, it just wasn't looking good. I am so happy for Ambry Thomas to be able to come out and do what he's been able to do. It's been a huge lift for this secondary. It really has. And he is easy to root for.
And that's the thing. I think this is young cornerbacks. Cornerback, to me, it is, yes, it is. It's react, but it's also on an island. And young cornerbacks, while it might not seem like, whenever they used to do the Wonderlic scores, that test all that ridiculous stuff, like it's not about, it's about having a short memory. It's about you're on an island and you have to recover and you have to forget when you F up. Ambry, I felt like, had some times where he always had the athletic makeup. He always had the instincts. There were just some technical stuff that he kept gambling on certain things and having. But right now, I mean, he's in the hip. That play, I can't remember, was it Quez Watkins? I think I want to say it was Quez Watkins. Doesn't even have to really turn his head around. And people always say, "Oh, you got to." No, you don't. You don't have to turn your head around. You read the receiver's eyes, you see his hands, and he did perfect job in mutual hand fighting, obstructing the pass. Later in the game, after the Eagles did score a touchdown, Ambry did the same thing. AJ Brown, Moody. I mean, I can't say enough about Ambry, and it's allowed Demo to move inside, and I think do better where he thrives.
They all made an impact on this game. I mean, Demo with the hit on Swift was Cam Chancellor, Vernon Davis-esque. I mean, that's one of those hits that I believe these two teams are going to play again, David. I really do. And we'll figure out if it's going to be at the Link or if it's going to be in Santa Clara. But a hit like that on Swift is one of those things that might just be a momentum changer, not only for this game, but the next time that they meet. It really could. That could be a demoralizer for them. I love that hit.
And look, these guys are NFL players. Me, former cross-country coach, telling NFL players that I'm not going to ever say they're soft, but I will say this. No. Eagles, Nick Sirianni, look, I love that players love him and that he's got, I mean, you want a guy that wants to have his players back. You want a guy that's going to talk a little shit, right? That's great, right? I think that, though, this Eagles team puffed up their chest a little too much to look like a team that got their lunch money stolen today in every single conceivable way. And I felt the 49ers. Now, Dre Greenlaw, I personally didn't like. I know people like Warriors fans like, oh, Draymond Green. I'm like, yeah, it's not great to take your like second best linebacker out of the game, even though he might not have deserved it. That being said, like, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. They got fake tough guy. They even had their security guard, Dom, who got Greg Olson and whatever the hell I can't even remember what's the other commentator's name. They got him a dinner recommendation and they couldn't stop talking about it. And Dom hooked them up with the restaurant. Oh, what a great restaurant. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And then Dom's in the middle of it, like throwing his chest around, and it goes haywire. And at the time, I'm like, wow, Greenlaw, you gave him a spark. And how the Niners responded was like, how you like that? I mean, it just
phenomenal.
Kicked their ass.
It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. It's crazy because as a fan, I got to be honest, over this whole season, I haven't had nerves at all. And going into this game, I didn't have nerves, but as soon as that game started, I was like, oh, I could feel the excitement. It all of a sudden, it just hit me, like all that energy from the NFC Championship, the whole year, the lead up to this game, it just hit me. And I know that it hit the 49ers, and they delivered. They delivered. After a slow start, they absolutely delivered.
I want to tell you something. This is no cap. Even at 6-0, I felt bend not break. I was not like, I've been a diehard Niners fan all my life. Nerves have coursed through my veins for 41 years, right? I was never nervous in this game. You know, and this is the thing. A lot of fans, I'm not trying to be, but they're like, hey, why don't we run the ball in the first two drives? Like, Kyle Scripps' plays has set all kinds of stuff up that send misdirection to the defense when they see this and they think it's going to be this. Like, trust. I'm not saying Kyle's infallible, but like passing the ball, the 49ers are actually like, we think about CMC and we like focus so much. Like, the 49ers are really, really, really good at passing the football. And there was never a time. And this is a testament to Brock Purdy. I'm going to say this. That's never a feeling I had with Jimmy Garoppolo. And this isn't Jimmy slander, but like, even when those teams, like the roster seemed amazing and you're like 13 wins, I always had nerves with Jimmy. Always. And with Brock, I'm not saying he's not going to ever have a moment where he doesn't live up to expectations, but I trust his demeanor. I trust that Kyle trusts him multiple times. 4th and 1, it could have been very easy for Kyle Shanahan to say, you know what? Let's punt, trust our defense. No, right? Many times on 3rd down, let's just do a delayed handoff. No. Brock made multiple 3rd down on like 8-9 yard passes outside the numbers, comeback runs from Ayuk. Just dealing.